Hello and sunny Ponani. Welcome to the Tier 3 opening race of the season. Welcome to the Shanghai International Circuit. We are in China, folks. As you can see, we do apologize for the delays. We seemed to be having issues connecting and servers kicking us out and all of that, but that does happen from time to time. So we do our best to make sure that we give you all the very best racing action. As you can see, we have been joined by more drivers. Alpa Raymain is here, as is the likes of BrakeAway. What kind of pace will they bring? I'm seeing whispers in the Tier 3 paddock that this may yet be an absolutely difficult race to perform very well in at the very least. But we will see once we get to racing. And as Definitely Duke predicted earlier on, the racing gods are kinder this time around. We do have drier conditions here with 18 minutes to qualify as fast as they possibly can. How will they do, I wonder? We're certainly hoping for a beautiful race and a very, very good qualifying session to, well, sprinkle a little bit of drama in this here session. Definitely Duke has some intel in the paddock. He reckons that we are not likely to see any spots of rain throughout this session. I do wonder if that will hold true for the entire race as well. Two cars out on track, Just Tendo and BrakeAway. Just Tendo, we saw, of course, be one of the more consistent drivers. He really tried when load shedding wasn't wreaking too much havoc. Just Tendo tried to show up and show out in the Tier 3 races. Of course, with each and every passing season, the conditions aren't necessarily straightforward, so it is going to be a challenge. But Just Tendo, in their trusted colors of Alpha Tauri, back out on track. Tendo, the only driver, or the first driver, I beg your pardon, to come out and give this circuit a go. Now making the way towards turn number 11. The left-hander, which is immediately greeted by the apex of turn 12. Ooh, Just Tendo already feeling the limits of where the grip perhaps starts to get a little bit, well, tricky. Now making the way down the long straight, the long back straight towards turn number 14. Bongani, aka Debo Crocodile, says, let us go. Tier 3 has some absolutely fast drivers. Yes, that is absolutely true. Former Tier 1 drivers, Brown Boy, Capoza, Mfundo, S. Buddha are here. What can they do in this field? It is not going to be easy. Shakes has opted to stay out and not retire their car in track, as we saw during the rainy conditions. 15.5 minutes. Just Tendo and the rest of the field have to begin their hot laps in earnest. Behind Just Tendo is none other than Shakes, who is only now making the way through turns number 1 and 2. Ooh, Just Tendo not necessarily enjoying themselves on the exit of turn number 3. It's going to be the kink of 5 into the hairpin of 6 for Just Tendo. Slight moments with the apex there. If we look on the trap map, that blue dot, which is approaching very, very quickly behind Just Tendo, is Shakes. But here comes Just Tendo now into the left-hander of 9, quickly followed by 10. Full power, already used up so much of their battery, now down to about 33% and only now finishing Sector 2. Just Tendo will be the first to steady representative effort. Oh, and already struggling with the grip on the exit here. Turn number 13, those lateral G-forces just drag you wide, and Tendo really, really struggled. And behind Tendo comes the screaming Red Bull of Shakes, who has opted to come out here in a set of medium compound tires as this Buddha was making their way out. As Don Rabico says, you know what, this lap, particularly from Just Tendo, is not looking very, very good. We saw Tendo struggle. Here comes turn number 16, and towards the line, the benchmark will be a 1 minute 36.0. But here comes Shakes now. Will be the second to set a representative time. A scorching 32.8 6.25 on medium compound tires. It's a Ferrari which is on the verge of crossing the line. Is it Prince? No, it's not. It's Perkmele, who is on the verge of crossing the line. Can they challenge Shakes' time? Can they beat Shakes' time? No, 33.556. One of the Mercedes is en route now. It's not Mfundo. It is the average FIFA player. P3, 35.1. Just Tendo's 136.0 is only good enough for P4 as things currently stand. There's a Haas on the way to crossing the line. It's Azuri, who was the quickest driver in wet conditions. As Don Ramico asked, where's my son? Who is your son? Is the question, Don Ramico. Don Ramico's prodigy is coming up soon, I suppose. Even Azuri can't match the time that Shakes set on those medium compound tires, but one of Brown Boy or Esbuda are on the verge of crossing the line. It is, in fact, going to be a Brown Boy first, but before them, it looks like Alpa Remain had invalidated, so they made their way back into the pit lane as things currently stand. Now, here comes Brown Boy, the veteran, former driver of the top tier, now navigates turn number 16, is on the limit. Here we go. Brown Boy crosses the line, 33.746 is good enough for P4 as things currently stand. Esbuda crosses the line. Time is only good enough for a 36.772. And Fundo had set a 37.420. So a lot of work for him to do as things currently stand. The Prince of South Africa had invalidated, but they're only now about to start their representative lap. Kaboza, veteran driver formerly of the top tier, is on the verge, of coming out eventually. They haven't made their way out onto the track. The Prince of South Africa not looking very good, as the self-proclaimed king, Don Ramico, is waiting eagerly to see what they can do. Azuri is out on track, Sector 3, giving it another go. We do wonder if it is another push attempt, or no, that red light is flashing. I do expect Azuri to make their way into the pit lane. So here's the order as things currently stand, folks. It's Shakes, who has gone quickest from Azuri, and Perkmele currently in P3. Brown Boy, who we're watching now, set the fourth quickest time, 33.7. The average FIFA player is still out on track, but they went fifth quickest. That red light is flashing. I do expect them perhaps to be making their way into the pits as we currently see. Just Tendo currently sixth and in the pits. Esbuda seventh, making the way also back into the pits. And Fundo 137.4, nowhere near the kind of times he would want to be doing. P8 for him. The Prince of South Africa has had a succession of invalidated laps, so only now making the way towards the line, possibly to begin a fresh, hot lap. But we'll see how he will fare. Kapoza has finally come out of the pit lane to become one of the last drivers to attempt a push lap. The Prince of South Africa, on those one-lap old soft compound tires, needs to make Don Ramico proud, but he went completely over the limit there on the exit of the final corner. But let's see what it looks like now, being cheered on presumably by Don Ramico in the comment section. Turns number 1 and 2, long, looping, right-hander, greeted by the left of turn number 3 with 10 minutes of this session to go. A little bit of a moment with the rear of the car on the exit of that particular corner. It's the kink of 5 into the hairpin of turn number 6 for the Prince of South Africa, who will hop on board now. Has a slight moment trying to catch it, trying to fight the car on the exit of that particular corner. It's flat out gear number 7. Down into the right-hander of 8. So this is the braking zone of 9 and 10. As definitely Duke says, Prince is a very lucky guy. How on earth did he not invalidate there? Presumably speaking about that early exit. Section 2 split in the 52 second. Oh! He has a huge moment, does Prince there. Just as he tries to hold that car cleanly into turn number 13. So it's not the best of laps here. He's definitely lost a fair few tenths, courtesy of those iffy moments that we just saw. Shakes is confident enough to retire in the pits as the Prince of South Africa hits the brakes and touches the apex ever so lightly on those 2-lap old soft compound tires. But I do wonder, it doesn't look like he's pushing. Is he going to bring it straight back into the pits? Yep, he's going to do exactly that. Kapoza, veteran driver formerly of the top tier, cannot race in Tier 1 this season, so will try from time to time to stake his claim on that potential comeback to the top tier via, well, climbing the BrakeAway Racing League ladder. But as we can see, he's not pushing at this particular time, so we'll hop on over to the Aston Martin of Alpha Remain. What can they do now? Well, the answer is definitely are pushing. Turns 9 and 10. Next, for the Aston Martin, heavy on the curb. Had to adjust their line into that turn number 10. It's going to be another heavy braking moment into 11, greeted by the right-hander of turn 12, but the exit wasn't so great there. Outbraked himself, which compromises exit and sends him spinning straight into the grass. Alpha Remain yet to set a representative time. Slowly tries to find their bearings and find their way, but oh, those tires are absolutely screaming at that particular point. Almost hit the sponsor board. He's got to really watch himself that he does not rejoin the track into some oncoming traffic. Thankfully for them, there is no one approaching that turn number 13, so he's going to have to give it another push all the way from scratch. Caboza, what can he do this time round? He's now making his way on what we can definitely presume is a proper push lap. On the limit, he's already gained 4 tenths, or rather 4 seconds, I beg your pardon. Caboza definitely wasn't pushing in that first lap that we saw, of course. Now making his way through the second sector, that being, of course, the middle sector. Now hurtling towards turns 9 and 10. Touches the apex ever so slightly, trying to carry as much speed as possible. Here, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way into the braking zone of turn number 11. Caboza, of course, highly experienced. Oh, a little bit of a moment on the exit there, just for turn number 13. We saw Alpha Remain come completely unstuck there, but Caboza trying to correct the little moment that he had a little bit earlier. Now hurtling down towards turn number 14, the heavy braking zone, which goes, of course, into the kink of 15, and then into the final left-hander, that being 16. Nailed the apex. Caboza trying to carry as much momentum as possible. 20% worth of battery power remaining. What can Caboza do? Shakes has set the benchmark. Caboza was on the limit there, hurtling towards the line, and he sets the quickest 132.529 to relegate, so to speak, or nudge Shakes down to P2 as things currently stand. Oh, Caboza on those screaming tires screams and spins on the exit of turn number 2, and will make his way back towards the pits. The Prince of South Africa is now giving it another push, has yet to set a representative lap. We will see what that looks like. Escallo, of course, noting that Caboza's time was set despite having made a mistake. Sig Fig, a driver who also fought their way all the way up the BrakeAway Racing League ladder, saying it is extremely strange to see Caboza racing in the 3rd tier of the BrakeAway Racing League. Absolutely strange. I do wonder if we'll also see other veterans, formerly of the top tier, such as Melo Lamelo, or perhaps even the former champions, Seaclay and even Titus. They could be racing in Tier 3 this season. Here comes the Prince of South Africa now towards the end of the second sector. 52.236 is that split. Navigates turns 11 into 12 and 13. Not making this similar mistakes to the likes of Caboza and Tendo that we had seen much earlier. The session is now ticking towards its inevitable conclusion. Not much longer to go. Here comes the Prince of South Africa into turn number 14. Greeted by the kink of 15 on the limit. Almost flirting with the track limits there. Trying to carry as much speed as possible into 16. Has a moment of correction there and will cross the line. He tried. You really tried, but it's a 33.233, nudges ahead of their teammate, Perk Mill, today, Perk Mill. So it's Caboza in provisional pole position from Shakes. Azuri, who was great in the wet conditions, is currently P3. The Prince of South Africa fights their way up to P4, Perk Millet P5, Brown Boy P6 in the pits, and Fundo P7, the average FIFA player, and Alpha Raymain out on track. But as I say that, the average FIFA player wants to make it an above average pit stop and back out onto the track. Alpha Raymain, who we saw spinning earlier on, their best time is a 35.864, good enough for P9. Just Tendo, currently 10th and in the pits, and the veteran S. Buddha is now pushing, making the way in that first sector. If you've just joined us, welcome to Tier 3. It's the opening race of the BrakeAway Racing League season. Welcome to the Shanghai International Circuit, and S. Buddha has gained almost a second from their previous best time. That is, of course, taking into account S. Buddha's Sector 1 split. We will see whether or not he can maintain the momentum by the time he gets to the end of the second sector. Here comes turns number 9 and 10 for S. Buddha. Today in the colors of McLaren. Today hoping to fight his way off the bottom of this potential grid of 11 drivers. He's lost about a tenth of a second through the middle sector. So S. Buddha got some work to do, got some catching up to do. Turns 12 and 13 are definitely cleaner than some of the efforts that we saw a little bit earlier on. S. Buddha, what can you do? As the Nucho, aka Peace, asks if Cycle is not here. No, not today, but perhaps as the season goes on, will be seen in future lobbies. This, however, is S. Buddha, who nudges the apex of turn number 14 and looks to point that car straight down, but has a slight moment a slight loss of grip that'll definitely cost them perhaps a crucial tenth. S. Buddha pushing as hard as he possibly can, but crosses the line despite the improvement, still bottom of the standings in this 11 driver field. Cycle says, you know what? Ask and you shall receive. The former champion in bullish mood. What can Cycle do? What would Cycle do in this field were he to join? I do wonder if Cycle has power enough to A, switch on their console, and B, make it into the lobby in time today. It doesn't look like that will be the case, as Buddha now making his way P11 for the veteran driver formerly of the top tier. Perk Millet was giving it another push, another go. Is now. Navigate! Was that a huge moment of almost contact? Almost hits Alpha Raymain over there, who was on their outlap but on the racing line. But presumably, Perk Millet will definitely. Well, I expect Perk Millet to possibly abandon that lap. We'll see the end of Sector 1. Yep, down almost 3/10, almost crashing out of this session completely. Alpha Raymain, what in the world was that on the racing line? Almost hit by the Ferrari driver over there. So we're going to have to catch up to see how they fare. Azuri was the class of the field in wet conditions. Now making the way across through down towards turn number 14 and 15. Oh, slight moment over there. Here comes turn 60, the final corner. Oh, look how much speed it was carrying. On the limit is Azuri, pushing it towards the top of the standings. It's a 1 minute 32.454, and Azuri in the Haas is the quickest driver. It's provisional pole for Azuri. Kapoza only now beginning their lap to potentially answer what Azuri just did. We're going to catch up with Azuri there. We just need to see which of the Ferraris it is. The Prince of, Perk Millet, who is making his way. Nope, not going to cross the line. Alpha Raymain also not exactly giving it a push at the moment. Back to Kapoza Rico. Kapoza has improved by 3.5 tenths of a second as the Nucho is responding to these absolutely scorching times that we've seen. Just Tendo tried, but they will finish this session down in P11. S. Buddha found improvement up to P9 as far as their times were concerned. And I do see some drivers leaving the session on the bottom of the screen. I do hope it's not another glitch that we're experiencing here, but it seems like we're still on and we're still live and we're still with Kapoza, who is maintaining that 3/10 improvement that he had managed to find through sectors 1 and 2. Now, down towards the back straight towards the turn number 14. What can he do? Here, it looks like it is going to be enough, more than enough, to leapfrog Azuri into that pole position. Ooh, Kaboza on the limit through that turn number 14. He's going to pull in 1 minute 31, so reckons definitely Duke. Will that be the case? He's on the limit of his fifth gear through the final corner, and he crosses the line with a 32.012. It's pole position for Kaboza, unless Zuri can find something. No, it's definitely not an improvement for there. Alpha Raymain, what can he do? He's found 3/10 worth of an improvement. Behind him, presumably, is S. Buddha. We'll see whether or not he's pushing, or if he is on an in a lap, so to speak. Alpha Raymain currently P10. How much of an advantage can you find? It's now or never towards the line. Alpha Raymain crosses the line, leapfrogs the average FIFA player, and will start this race in P8. S. Buddha is not on a push lap, so it's going to be Kaboza in pole position in China. Azuri, what an effort that was. P2 for them. Shakes will start in P3. The Prince of South Africa will start alongside Shakes in that second row. The third row consists of Perk Mille in Ferrari and Brown Boy, the former Tier 1 driver, who is tailed by Mfundo, another alumnus of the top tier. Alpha Raymain will start in P8. The average FIFA player will hope to be an above-average driver in China. They will start P9. S. Buddha will start P10. Just Tendo will make up the back of this grid. Well. Looking forward to a sensationally entertaining race. If you've just joined us, that's your quali, folks. That is your grid that you can see on the left of your screen. Ban Kobe says Kaboza missed the feeling of having good races. That's why he demoted himself. Ban Kobe. Ban Kobe's back to his villain era, according to some in the Breakaway Racing League paddock. Here we go, folks. The gap between P1 and 2 is 0.4 of a second. Shakes on those medium tires, about 0.8 back. And then we have daylight between the top drivers and Prince of South Africa in P4, 1.2 seconds. Perk Mille in P5, Brown Boy P6, Mfundo P7, Apple Raymain P8. The average FIFA player, S. Buddha and Tendo, rounding up your grid. And as you can see, medium tires for Shakes, as well as the average FIFA player. 3 sets of tires for the likes of Perk Mille, as well as Mfundo and Alpha Raymain. Kaboza used 2 sets of tires to set that fastest time. Azuri likewise, as well as the Prince of South Africa and S. Buddha, who is only down in P10. Up next, it's race 1 in Tier 3. Beautiful blue skies. Welcome to Shanghai. Welcome specifically to the Shanghai International Circuit. The third tier of the Breakaway Racing League will be getting underway in just a couple of seconds. We have some very lucky spectators here, as you can see on the screen, who have an up-close and personal look of the paddock here in Shanghai. Let's see how the race start will go. We do hope for some clean racing. We do hope that the nerves of race 1 and these new conditions will not deter these drivers. It's 5 lights. It's the only time South Africans look forward to the lights going out. It's Kaboza who will set us off here in China in the race lead. Azuri is currently in P2. Azuri is fighting it. Azuri and Kaboza make contact through turn 1. And here comes Shakes to take full advantage of that moment of contact between the former top two drivers. But Azuri, where are they? All the way down in P11 as things currently stand. The Prince of South Africa leads from Shakes, who is fighting for that race lead as things currently stand. They're now making their way down towards turn number 6. It's the hairpin. It's the Prince of South Africa from Shakes down to Kaboza. Perk Mille has already retired, bringing out the virtual safety car. A breathless start. Perk Mille is out of this race. Tapiso apparently believing what they saw from Zuri there as Kaboza was fighting with them for the lead of this race. How much damage did the AlphaTauri driver take today? It doesn't look like it's too much as things currently stand. Virtual safety car hopefully will not last very long. Here we go, folks. It's going to be a very quick restart here in quick succession. It's Kaboza P3 and Fundo is currently fourth from Brown Boy and Esbuda, who's gained 4 places courtesy of that lap 1 chaos. Alpha Remain has gained just 1, and just Tendo took advantage of the retirements to move up a total of 3 places. The average FIFA player is towards the back of the pack in P9. Azuri will hope to recover from that. They will start in P10. Christopher Crash is in the comment section to answer your question. Kaboza's schedule means that he cannot race in the top tier this season. Hence, he will try his luck to fight his way up the BrakeAway Racing League ladder. The Prince of South Africa gets us back underway here to begin the second lap, which ended almost under the virtual safety car. Kaboza is on the hunt versus Shakes here for that P2 spot. Kaboza will be thieving with that moment of contact in lap number 1. They now navigate the long looping right-handers of turns number 1 and 2. They will hope to build up as much of a gap as they possibly can to be chasing Brown Boy, another alumnus formerly of the top tier. Kaboza hangs on for dear life as Shakes is also thereabouts. Let's get a sense of what the thinking is as far as tire compounds are concerned. It was hard tires, so it was well, theoretically, advantage Azuri in that rush towards turn number 1, but Kaboza has still somehow managed to stay within touching distance of some of the top runners. That early moment of contact saw Kaboza go completely offline. Shakes and the Prince of South Africa did not waste any time, taking full advantage over there. And as we now make our way to, on the exit of the turns 12 and 13, the Prince of South Africa not having such a great place here as he exits turn number 13. Shakes opted to deploy that battery later than the Prince of South Africa. Someone brought out a yellow flag down towards the back of the pack. It looks like it's just Tendo, but we'll hang on here to the action for the battle for the race lead. Kaboza trying to hang on to the lead. He's not necessarily getting shaken off by the top two, and eventually that tire compound, the hard tire compound, will give Kaboza a lot to smile about as these tires start to age. But it's a long way of racing still to go. Kaboza is still within touching distance. Shakes is giving the Prince of South Africa no breathing room whatsoever, letting him know that I am right here on your tail. The Prince of South Africa can see that RB19 looming in those rear view mirrors. Kaboza, not the cleanest of exits here compared to the top two drivers. And a word also for Brown Boy, who's managed to make sure that he stays within this DRS train. It is lap number 3, folks. So race control has allowed these drivers to use DRS. And it's about 70% worth of battery power for Brown Boy, who has done a good job here to stay in touch with the leading trio, that being the Prince of South Africa, Shakes, and Kaboza in those top 3 positions. Lap 3 of a total 28. If you've just joined us, it's been a beautifully entertaining start to this race. Brown Boy trying to stay in touch. The Prince of South Africa struggling, as you can see over there. Turns number 12 and 13. Always a moment where that tire grip or that traction really is a source of struggle for Prince. But will Brown Boy go for it down towards turn number 14? That is the eternal question. It's contact between Brown Boy and Kaboza, who makes a double overtake into turn number 14. It's sensational stuff by the AlphaTauri driver, who makes amends for that moment of contact in lap number 1. And Kaboza shows his class. He's now back up to the lead of the race. And now Shakes is going to be driving and fighting in anger, trying to reclaim, or rather to claim the race lead for the first time today. Shakes not deploying that battery power, but using that DRS to now keep Kapoza under pressure. What a sensational move that was by the new race leader, who was being cheered on in the comment section by Bongani, aka Debo Crocodile, Don Ravico as well, really cheering on that sensational move that Kapoza pulled to dispatch of both the Red Bull and the Ferrari. The Prince of South Africa barely believing what is going on, now under pressure, under duress from none other than the Tier 1 driver, that being Brown Boy. Folks, I want to make sure that we catch up with what else is happening in the midfield of this race, but the battle for the race lead has been absolutely breathless since the start. Moteo, aka Mex, is, barely believing, or rather cheering on that move that Kapoza pulled off to overtake both Shakes and the Prince of South Africa. Oh, here comes Shakes now, looking to possibly overtake, but did not have enough in the tank there. This is the corner where the Prince of South Africa struggles. Will it be exactly the case now here? Yes is the answer. Look at the top two drivers pulling away. The Prince of South Africa struggling for traction on turns 12 and 13. But will Brown Boy pounce now in the run towards turn number 14? Well, not quite, not yet, but Shakes will definitely do so. He is on the inside of Kapoza. He has the apex, but Kapoza on the outside line is marginally ahead, barely ahead, by the tightest of margin, but he hangs on, does the AlphaTauri driver. Oh, what beautiful racing we have seen over here today. Brown Boy trying to have his say in the battle for the podium, and now he's going to go on the outside of the Prince of South Africa, who, try as he might, hangs on to the long looping inside line. Oh, it's contact, and both the Prince of South Africa and Brown Boy are sent facing the wrong way. Brown Boy is now up to P3, but he went through the grass to get that podium spot. Man, oh man, oh man. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The Prince of South Africa, now P4. And that moment of contact has cost both of them about 5 seconds to the leading pair. Now, folks, it's going to be a moment perhaps for the stewards to intervene at some point. Average FIFA player is now putting the Prince of South Africa under pressure. Azuri, who had that huge lap 1 incident, currently in P6. Esbuda is in P7. M. Fundo currently P8, 3.1 seconds behind the McLaren driver. Just Tendo is in that P9 spot, and Alpa Reme makes up the very tail end of this particular field. Well, folks, lap 5 of 28. The field is now slowly starting to stretch out as Shakes and Kapoza are added once again. On the inside goes the Red Bull driver and overtakes Kapoza to claim the race lead for the first time today. Kapoza having to go completely offline in the braking zone there, and as he did so, that gap is now 1.3 seconds. I wonder if that was genuine contact and if Kapoza has absolutely struggled or has taken damage there to that front wing. As they were exiting that penultimate corner, or rather turn number 14, they might have made, too much contact, and Kapoza is now slipping further and further away. He might have taken wing damage here, folks. Definitely is not a great time for Kapoza here, and Shakes has really given us some fantastic entertainment. Was absolutely caught off guard by the on-rushing Kapoza earlier on, but it's the race lead for the Red Bull driver today. Kapoza, P2, Brown Boy currently third from the Prince of South Africa, who had that moment with the McLaren that is currently ahead of him. Average FIFA player currently in that P5 spot from Azuri. Esbuda, is off the track! Esbuda sends it into the wall! On the exit of turn number 6, the hairpin, Esbuda having a nightmare here today. P8 in the trenches and into the wall for Esbuda, and now into the grass. Those tires are screaming. That right wing end plate is absolutely gone, and the veteran driver really struggling here in the 6th lap of a total 28, presumably going to make their way all the way towards the pit lane, and now is going to be attacked by none other than Just Tendo into turns number, that was 11, but Tendo got it completely wrong. Golden opportunity for Tendo to overtake here, but even turns 12 and 13 are not that great for Just Tendo. Kapoza's teammate here today, he's got the advantage, he's got the DRS, he has got the ERS, and it's a clean overtake by the AlphaTauri driver. Now up to P8, taking full advantage of those mistakes by S. Buddha. Meanwhile, the Prince of South Africa now having to fight off the average FIFA player who today is hoping to be an above-average driver. On board we go with the Ferrari driver who sends it straight into the wall. It's a wing completely lost for the Prince of South Africa, and Azuri has to slow down to avoid making terminal contact there. Oh man, it's just mistake after mistake. We were on board with S. Buddha, who had to change their wing, and Alpa Remain was speeding under the safety car. I believe it was the Prince of South Africa who brought out that safety car, courtesy of completely donating their wing in Sector 1 there. So the marshals will say thank you very much. I will keep that memento of a Scuderia Ferrari front wing, if you please. And Fundo gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. Mfundo kapfungathi pheka manje ubrika waze wahamba. Hayi sibakushaya ngepenalty angeke noma ungayimisa le Mercedes so itholile ipenalty. Mara Mfundo kanti uyiveteran enjani ethola ama drive through. A rookie mistake by the veteran driver formerly of the top tier gets a drive-through penalty over there, and I do expect we might see some early onset pit stops. Notably, interestingly, Kaboza had bridged that gap, which was more than a second, down to about half a second now. Kaboza, no need to pit here, but he does. So it's a box opposite strategy for Kaboza. Comes into the pits on 7-lap-old hard compound tires. Well. Is this perhaps a decision taken because he took some wing damage? The answer is no. It's just he's just rolling the dice here and opting to pit much earlier than he needed to. Zotal barely believing the pit strategy for Kapoza at this time. It was not necessary. He was, remember, on a tire compound which would have taken him much further into this race. But here comes Kapoza now. Mfundo is going to opt to... Mfundo having a little bit of a moment there. Is going to opt to stay out over here. Crash reckons that Kapoza is banking on something else, hence why he is pitting now. Estelo reckons it's a two-stop strategy possibly for Kapoza, whom we might possibly see go into a set of soft compound tires perhaps towards the end. So perhaps Kapoza is... playing some games here. Perhaps Kaboza is confident enough to fight their way up this leading quartet of Shakes, Brandboy, FIFA, as well as Azuri. And then by the time they pit, perhaps, maybe Kaboza would then pit for either a fresh set of mediums or even softs. Someone is moving slowly. It looks like it was Azuri, so Kaboza taking advantage there. But then Azuri relents. So just a couple of moments of gamesmanship there. Don Rabico reckons it's a pretty good call, as Crash says, you know what, this is Tier 3. Strategy doesn't matter here, according to Crash. Wow, here is your lineup, folks. It is Shakes in the lead of this race from Brown Boy, who now has a shot of a memorable race win on his return to hopefully regular Breakaway League racing. The average FIFA player hoping to be an above-average driver here today. P3 for them today. Azuri is in 4th place. Kaboza on those fresh mediums is in P5. The Prince of South Africa and Mfundo are having moments between themselves. It's P6 for the Ferrari. Nope, relents. Mfundo P6 and the Prince of South Africa in P7. Just Tendo is in P8. As Buddha P9. He will be thanking his lucky stars, the veteran driver. Made an early mistake, sent it into the wall a little bit earlier on, but has a moment of possible atonement here today, because it's an opportunity, A, for him to catch up, and B, to have a say on the rest of the race. Alpa Remain only making the way out the pits now, so they will be chasing S. Buddha a little bit ahead. The fastest lap up until this point has been set by Shakes. It's a 1 minute 35.880. Broadway with a 35.9. FIFA 37.0. Kaboza there and thereabouts. Very close to the fastest lap. 35.2. 1:08.896. We are under safety car conditions, folks. Lap number 9 of a total 28. Catching up with some of your comment section. Bongani, Debo Crocodile says, my guys are not pitting, so they'll have to pit later. Good gamble. All the medium guys should have pit, reckons Crash. As Don Rabico said, someone was P5 with fresh tires. Good call. Hasn't lost much. Shakes was opening a gap. Zotal says this track will be tough for the top tier drivers on Thursday. Remember to catch that race on our YouTube channel right here, 7:30 Central African time, Tier 1 of the BrakeAway Racing League. Tomorrow you can catch Tier 2 of the BrakeAway Racing League at 8 p.m. Central African time. And we are hoping to get back racing as soon as possible. So Alpha Remain, presumably, Alpha Remain has now caught up to the back of the pack. And Esbuda is only now doing so. Looks like Alpha Remain has already possibly been lapped if you look at the gap to the leader. So not such a great day for the Aston Martin driver. But of course, this being a diminished field, plus the absence of Perk Mille, it is a golden opportunity. Anything can still happen. There's a lot of racing still to go. The safety car will presumably make one more revolution around here. Perk Mille lost or DNF'd very early on in the race. To answer your question, Zotal, in lap number 1. We did not see the action on camera, but it was in Sector 1 that the car DNF'd. Zotal, as you can see in the comment section, is counting off some of the competitors that they will have to face in the top tier BrakeAway Racing League. Zotal name-checking Tabo T92, Don Rabico, Mercurial Caesar, Smirch Django, Moteo Mekwa, Zotal himself, and Tsepiso, who has made their way back to the top tier of BrakeAway Racing League. The 86er is also there. Mandla, Manray, Tindo. It is a stacked field in the top tier of the BrakeAway Racing League, folks. But as far as today's action is concerned, it is Shakes who has been imperious today and has given us some fantastic entertainment. Was fighting with the likes of Kaboza and the Prince of South Africa earlier on, but now Shakes is in firm command, firm control of this race. Let's see what they can do by the time we restart. I do expect that race control will be giving the word that we will be getting back underway in this race, and we will get straight back to racing conditions. Yep, that's the word from race control. The safety car is in at the end of this lap. Christopher Crash and Zotal with some emojis there responding to us name-checking Tsepiso as one to watch out for. Tsepiso, of course, a very interesting driver with a storied history in the BrakeAway Racing League. Tsepiso, for those of you who may not be aware, really made their name as a prospect in BrakeAway by absolutely lighting it up in the old Tier 2. Tsepiso was in a Ferrari back in the day. Tsepiso will be racing in a Ferrari this season. Back then, Tsepiso used to race with a driver called Tomeo. And they used to be a fantastic partnership. They're giving each other all sorts of toes and quali, and also putting on some fantastic showings in wet weather conditions. So great history among so many BrakeAway Racing League drivers, but someone who is looking to write their own story, write their own history, create their own legacy in the top tier is none other than your current race leader, that being Shakes, who will get us back towards racing conditions. But the question is, when will Shakes send it? The answer is now. Onto the main straight. Here comes Brown Boy on the hunt, on the chase, down towards turn number 1. The average FIFA player right on their tail. Oh, Azuri is going for it. Oh no! Average FIFA player and Azuri have had a huge crash. Azuri crashing with the average FIFA player, and it's another DNF in lap 11 of 28. It's a lost wing. It's a second safety car, or is it virtual? A huge moment of contact between Azuri and the average FIFA player, and it's another safety car. number one, Azuri left nothing to chance as far as going for it. And the average FIFA player is out. Oh, man. Man, oh, man, oh, man. Well, we will have moments with the stewards, perhaps. Azuri bringing out the second safety car of the day just as we were about to restart. So the stewards might have a lot of work to do when all is said and done here today. It was an interesting restart. We were watching Shakes and Brown Boy absolutely send it towards turn one, but Azuri went on the hunt. He went on the outside line. First corner assassin, says Crash in the comment section. Azuri is deadly, says Punkani, Debo Crocodile. And the average FIFA player sadly leaving the lobby. And that moment, that DNF, means that Alpa Remain, who had been lapped, now has the opportunity to claim some points. Over here. Man, oh man, oh man. Kaboza, sadly, has racked up a 3-second time penalty here. 3 seconds worth of time penalties. Just Tendo, presumably for speeding under the safety car, as well as 3 seconds of a time penalty, earned himself 8 seconds. And Fundo had that drive-through penalty for speeding under the previous safety car. And already, folks, we've seen drivers come into the pits at this particular point. Prince of South Africa, curiously, in lap number 12, had to change their wing and is really going for an interesting strategy. Going for a set of soft compound tires. So Brown Boy, Azuri, Prince, and Alpa Remain are the drivers that have come into the pits. Shakes opted to stay out. 11 lap old medium compound tires. He's going long here, folks. Opting to stay out, and Kaboza, who pitted way earlier than a lot of you expected him to, has pretty much not pushed these tires at all. 4 lap old mediums for Kaboza, and just Tendo, despite the penalties, well, he will not mind being so high up. Just Tendo has already pitted, but does have 8 seconds to atone for as far as penalties are concerned. Crash is urging Kaboza to stretch his stint towards an eventual soft tire compound. So it's Shakes from Kaboza from Just Tendo. That's your top 3, folks. And Fundo has a drive-through penalty to serve. Has yet to pit, curiously. 11 lap old hard compound tires. I suppose at this point, started on the hards alongside Kaboza. Does not see the need to pit. Esbuda, P5, tailed by Brown Boy. Now in P6 on those brand new hard tires. Considering that Shake still has to pit, if we don't get a safety car between now and the end of the race, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Brown Boy's prospects here. Of course, Shake's later on in the race will be in a softer compound of tire. But taking into account, if Shakes does not pit here, if Shakes does not pit under the safety car, how do you see Brown Boy's prospects going between now and the end of the race? It's fresh hards at this particular point. Currently P6. Azuri, who hasn't made too many friends here today, currently P7. The Prince of South Africa on those softs is currently P8. And Alpa Remain, currently P9. Debo Croc reckons that Brown Boy for the win, or he could yet do something special here today at the Shanghai International Circuit. Billy Hendricks says Just Tendo is the next one to humble the Prince of South Africa. We will see. Prince of South Africa was having such a fantastic race start. If you missed that, I do think towards the end of today or after tonight's race, or perhaps later on this week, if you go back and watch this race, you will see just how sensational he was. He took advantage, did the Prince of South Africa, of that moment of contact between Kapoza and Azuri in lap number 1, and he was in the lead of the race and was fighting off Brown Boy valiantly up until the super talented Kaboza managed to find himself back in the reckoning for the race lead. Kaboza currently P2, just Tendo behind. So it's the AlphaTauris running in quick succession as race control gives a word that the safety cars coming in at the end of this lap. AlphaTauris running in formation, if you will, as are the McLarens. Shakes will have another bite at the cherry. As far as race restarts are concerned, the drivers now making their way out of turn number 13 down towards this back straight, I beg your pardon, hurtling down all the way towards turn number 14. Brown Boy, S. Buddha, what can they do here? Watch out for Azuri.
Yeah, Azuri. Hello, Azuri. I want to love what you want. For himself. Oh, Brown Boy, be careful.
Yes, Brown Boy does need to watch out. Azuri does not take any prisoners, as we have seen. Hard racing, to put it mildly. The Prince of South Africa looking to have his say. Alpha Remain has already been lapped. It looks like Shakes caught them earlier. He caught them off guard. Oh, look at that! It's just Tendo who was going for something audacious over here, but Mfundo losing ground because of just Tendo's audacious move, which cost him the exit. Kaboza is going for the race lead now in towards the long looping turns number 1 and 2. Kaboza was burned on this particular corner last time out, but not this time. Mfundo had a moment. He slipped down to P6. Oh, Shakes is struggling to keep those aging mediums. Oh, Kaboza has a moment of his own and loses ground. That gap was 3/10. Now it's up to almost 7/10 of a second. It is 7/10 of a second. Oh no, Brown Boy, what happened to him? He slipped and fallen all the way down to P7. Brown Boy and S. Buddha were in the reckoning here. They were up in P6, but they've been overtaken by the likes of Mfundo and the Prince of South Africa. What might have happened to him? Brown Boy is now looking to catch up to the Prince of South Africa. 2.9 seconds is the gap over there. S. Buddha has fallen behind despite the race restart having bunched everyone together. There must have been some carnage in the middle here, but here comes the Prince of South Africa on the inside of Mfundo. In this corner, he touches the apex, and Mfundo has been dispatched. Over here, he now has to settle for that P6 spot. Prince of South Africa trying to fight their way back up into the reckoning. Let's go back up to the battle for the potential race lead. Look at that, folks. It's Kaboza on the hunt. It is Kaboza on the inside here in the run towards turn number 14. Shakes on those aging medium compound cars. Has no answer for the ERS-enabled Kaboza. Remember, we have not enabled DRS as yet. Now inches across turns number 14 and 15, and Kaboza is back into the race lead with that 3-second time penalty, which he will hope does not cost him too dearly when all is said and done here. Remember, folks, Shakes has yet to pit, so we will see how much his decision will cost him in the long run. Turns number 1 and 2. Kaboza has a moment on the exit of 2 and goes heavy on the curb through turn number 3. Kaboza struggling for traction on the entry into turn 4, but he keeps it on line, on track, and on the verge of hanging on comprehensively to this race lead. Guys, we've had about 2 laps since the safety car came in, and already the top 2 drivers have eked out a 5.9 second advantage to the chasing pack. Shakes on those aging mediums has opted to stay out. Here they come now into turns number 9 and 10. Kaboza, not the cleanest of entries, manages to use a little bit of that power just to stretch that gap from 0.3 to about half a second. Here he comes now. It's turns 11. This is 12. And looping straight into 13 now. And they send those cars, Alpha, Tauri, and Red Bull, sister constructors, if you will, hurtling down towards turn number 14. Shakes is going to have to fight his way back up the pack once again. Just Tendo trying to keep Brown Boy at bay. Just Tendo struggling onto the grass. Brown Boy says, okay, I'll take the long way around and potentially overtake you. But Just Tendo in a straight line is absolutely menacing. He is absolutely sending it, using as much battery as he possibly can, and stretches the legs of that AlphaTauri, but completely outbrakes himself. And Brown Boy says, okay, if you leave the door that wide open, I will not need a second invitation. Brown Boy now up to P5. So much ground to make up for the McLaren driver, who really had it all to do, and just Tendo perhaps paying too much attention to those rear view mirrors, making it absolutely easy for Brown Boy to overtake him there through turn number 14. As some of you are responding in the comment section, the Prince of South Africa is on a revenge mission here, but the strategy might not perhaps see him in contention for a possible race win, because these soft tires will be screaming towards the end of this race. We've got about 12 laps of racing to go, and this track is not necessarily kind on those soft tires. Here comes the Prince of South Africa, though. We'll have DRS if he manages to stay within this touching distance on the exit of turn number 13. Oh, Azuri having some moments there on the exit of turn number 10. They send it hurtling down now towards 11. It's the Prince of South Africa. Ferrari versus Haas. It's the same engine in both these constructors, but the Haas driver having a little bit of moments there through turns 12 and 13. The Prince of South Africa, much more grip, much more speed, has the advantage of DRS, is using that battery and sends it on the inside, and it is a clean overtake. That Ferrari has overtaken the Haas, but Azuri being Azuri, he will absolutely fight it into turn number 14. But tries he might. A little bit of a moment, but Azuri cannot reclaim that spot. And turn number 16 will be cleanly navigated by the Prince of South Africa and the chasing Azuri. Here comes Shakes versus Kapoza. Oh, the mediums versus new ones. Oh, it's the inside into this long looping right-hander. It's oh so close. They make a little bit of contact now. Turn number 3, Kapoza has the inside line, but Shakes is going to absolutely fight it. Tries he might. Kapoza gets the better exit. He's onto the power earlier is the AlphaTauri driver, and Shakes is now going to have to fight it down into the hairpin of turn number 6. Will he go for it? No, not necessarily. They made a little bit of contact there, but they tried, both these drivers, to give each other as much room as they possibly can. Entertaining stuff here in lap number 17 of 28. Kapoza fighting for the race win, knowing that the 3-second time penalty may yet come into play before all is said and done. It's the battle for the race lead from Shakes, whose strategy you have all questioned in the comment section. But despite those medium compound tires being 16 laps old, he is keeping it within touching distance of Kapoza. As Van Kobe laments that Kapoza is somehow struggling to stretch that gap between himself and Shakes on those aging medium compound tires. But that is, of course, something that gives you a sense of what John Radical was saying in the comments earlier on. Watch out for Shakes. He's got the pace. He is a danger man in Tier 3. Here they come now into turn number 14 as Azuri, as dispatch of the Prince of South Africa. Shakes has a little bit of a moment, loses ground to Kapoza. That gap, which was 0.2, has now stretched to almost a full second. And that is Shakes finally waving the white flag and coming into the pits as Crash reckons that they will jump onto a set of soft compound tires. We will see. Here comes Azuri now. In that P2 spot, Kapoza now knows that he needs to keep a 3-second buffer between himself and whoever is in P2 if he is to have an advantage towards the end here. Shakes, predictably, as far as Crash is concerned, has fitted on a set of soft compound tires, and he will come out currently P5. Where is Just Tendo, though? That is the question, and the answer to that is slightly ahead. So Just Tendo ahead of Shakes, who says, no, I will not be kept at bay by you, Tendo. I will overtake you as quickly as I possibly can, and navigates those initial corners back up to P5. So, courtesy of that pit stops, it is Kapoza in the lead of the race. It is Azuri currently in P2. And the Prince of South Africa is in P3. The gap to the leader is 5.9 seconds as far as the Prince of South Africa is concerned. Brown Boy on those hard tires is 11 seconds behind Kapoza. And we then have Shakes, who has emerged from the pits on a brand spanking set of soft compound tires. The man who was in the lead, who was in control of this race, opted not to pit. Now has 24.1 seconds to make up to the race leader. Just Tendo has 30 seconds to Kapoza in the lead of this race. And Fundo on the new mediums is, well, very, very far from the lead of this race, more than a minute behind. Esbuda, similarly, and Alpa Remain as well. There's a fight going on. Nope, it is not necessarily a fight. It's the Prince of South Africa finally coming into the pits for the third time in this race. Remember, the Prince of South Africa was mired in some on-track skirmishes, which necessitated an earlier pit stop than they would have wanted. Third stop of the day, Prince of South Africa comes out P5 because Shakes managed to overtake them in the pits. Azuri, can you catch up to Kaboza? At the very least, can you make it a gap less than 3 seconds? I tell you what, he's definitely closing in slowly but surely. For a split second there, it was down to about 3.9 seconds, giving Kaboza a whole lot to think about. Let's see what other information we could give you. 3-second time penalty for Kaboza, Mfundo, and Just Tendo. The rest of the pack, clean, no penalties. Debo Croc reckons we will have an interesting finish to this race. I look forward to that. Azuri might just win this, so reckons definitely Duke. Peace, aka Venuccio, reckons that Kaboza's tires will definitely start screaming before all is said and done. And he will feel, the age already. As Venuccio was saying, we saw Kaboza really have to catch that car on the exit of the final corner. But that gap is now down to about 3.8 seconds, as you can see. It is going to be tight, reckons Zotal in the comment section. If Kaboza somehow manages to hang on and keep that 3-second buffer, that would be a beautiful performance as far as he's concerned. Shakes is the quickest driver on track. 133.964 is the new benchmark. The gap was 24 seconds. As it stands, it is 19.1 seconds with 8 laps of racing still to go. Zotal says Kaboza absolutely kills his tires. He needs to find a way to manage them. Well, at the very least, Kaboza has managed to eke out a couple of tenths in that buffer between himself and Azuri. That gap now 4 seconds. It was 4.2 seconds, just a matter of seconds ago. So a lot of racing still to go here, folks. At the back of the pack, it is Alpa Remain, already been lapped. P9 as things currently stand. Esbuda making their way now through the initial corners. It is P8 for the McLaren driver, also on a set of soft compound tires. Also making 3 stops along the likes of the Prince of South Africa. Alpa Remain with 4 stops. Just Tendo is hunting down Mfundo. We saw them have a little bit of a moment between themselves, a slight little scrap between them. But Mfundo currently has the advantage as far as that battle is concerned. Whoa, Kaboza has opted to come into the pits very late on here, folks. Kaboza also has that 3-second time penalty. So perhaps those mediums are something that he cannot handle at this particular point. It's fresh soft, and Shakes overtakes him. Well. Why so late? Well, Kaboza has been overtaken by the Prince of South Africa on the exit of the pits. He's going to fight it. They're going to make a little bit of contact here if they're not careful. They're both on brand new softs. Prince of South Africa has the advantage of heat in those tires because he did pit a lap before Kaboza, who's going to try and fight it. It was so crucial for Kaboza to make sure that he was not overtaken by one more car that he was going to have to fight off as he tries to catch up to Shakes ahead of him. Prince of South Africa on tires which are slightly older than Kaboza. Look at that. 2 laps versus fresh softs as we look at this battle for that P4 spot. Kaboza has a time penalty to contend with. The Prince of South Africa does not, which means the Ferrari driver will at the very least need to leapfrog Kaboza if he was somehow to make his way into the reckoning for a potential race win over here. Zotal with some fire emojis and a laughing one, looking at the way that Azuri has managed to find himself on the verge of what would be an eyebrow-raising victory here, considering he had major incidents in with 2 drivers here at the start of this race And of course, somewhere approaching the midpoint, Azuri is on the verge of something special in the opening race of this season for Team Haas. Can he hang on? Can he hold his nerve here? Both Azuri and the P2 running Brown Boy on a set of medium compound tires. Both, I beg your pardon, both tires 10 laps old. So what can they do here before all is said and done? Down at in the midfield, Esbuda has just overtaken Tendo. Presumably on the exit of turn number 13, Tendo is trying to fight back. Absolutely no battery power left. He's flashing 8% for just Tendo. He's going to try to stay within DRS, but by the time he approaches the final corner, that gap is out of DRS range. Just Tendo going off track over there. So folks, with just a few laps of racing remaining, it is Azuri in the lead of this race. The gap, 6 seconds, and slowly inching downwards. That is Brown Boy, who can see Azuri down towards the end of this stretch of the track. Approaching turn number 14 is Azuri. Meanwhile, Shakes has fought their way all the way up now to P3. What can Shakes do between now and the end of this race? Shakes has 7 seconds to make up and 5 laps of racing to go. Can Shakes do it? Oh man, if he does, that would be absolutely sensational stuff. It is 6.7 seconds as Shakes now has Brown Boy in their sights. Caboza on those newer soft has set a fastest 133.818. What a sensationally entertaining race we have had here, folks. We're now going towards the end of proceedings here. I tell you what, it has been absolutely entertaining. He has used up all of his battery power as Shakes, and now is just trying to dispatch of Brown Boy. That gap is now 6.3 seconds with 5 laps of racing to go, and Azuri having the advantage of 5 seconds, or 5.5 seconds to Brown Boy. Knows that he does not need to use up his battery. Neither does Brown Boy, who's been saving up and charging that battery to mount a stout defense versus Shakes, who goes on the attack into turn number 11, into 12, and number 13. Shakes has used up pretty much all of his battery, trying to make sure that he overtakes. He'll have the advantage of DRS here, but will Brown Boy have enough battery power to fight it off? On the inside goes Shakes, down or up towards P2. Despite having superior battery power, Brown Boy could not fight it off. We still have all that racing still to go, folks. Azuri is 5 seconds ahead of this man, and we have 4 laps of racing to go. 4.9 seconds. It is going to be an absolutely sensational end towards this race here. Do not count out Brown Boy if he can stay within DRS of Shakes, who's ahead of him. Remember, Shakes has no more battery power. All Brown Boy needs to do is hang on to the coattails of the Red Bull ahead of him. It's not going to be easy. Those hard tires are aging. And Zotal says Shakes' soft tires are going to worry him because remember, this is not a track that is particularly kind to tires at all. And try as he might, Brown Boy has already slipped out of the clutches of Shakes' DRS. Oh man, if Brown Boy was somehow able to hang on to Shakes' coattails via DRS, he might have put himself within a position to potentially fight for an unlikely race win here, considering he had amazing battery power. Don Ravico reckons that this man will catch the race leader. So reckons Bongani, aka Debo Crocodile, in the comment section. Listen, it was a strategy that a lot of you questioned earlier on, but right now he is inching closer and closer, and he's got enough laps in the bag to make sure that he makes a proper scrap of it. Oh, Capoza has overtaken Brown Boy. Meanwhile, in the battle towards the podium places, sensational stuff by the AlphaTauri driver, who still has that 3-second time penalty to contend with. How much of a fight can Brown Boy put up here? The answer potentially is not much, despite having all of that battery power. He slips out of Kaposa's DRS. Kaposa has 19% worth of battery remaining. Billy Hendricks says this man is the new Mango. He's the new Mango of the third tier. I'll tell you what, folks, there are so many rapid drivers in this tier. Shakes, Kaposa, Brown Boy, even the Prince of South Africa showed something here today. And Fundo is here, former Tier 1 driver. We've got the likes of Sequay potentially racing. Malusi to Malusi. It is an endless list of drivers who could potentially rack up race wins. And I'll tell you what, because of the class of drivers that we have in Tier 3, this may yet be one of the must-watch tiers in the entire BrakeAway Racing League stable. I'll tell you what, Tier 2 has been beautifully entertaining in recent years, but Tier 3 this year may yet be one of those that you just absolutely cannot afford to miss as far as watching is concerned. Look at that. Kaposa on the newer soft tires is inching closer and closer to Shakes. And Kaposa needs a 3-second buffer between himself and Brown Boy if he is to secure a podium spot at the very least here, folks. It's going to be close. When did Kaposa close the gap? He has been absolutely relentless, has Kaposa. Now has the front row seats to the battle for a potential race win. And Kaposa, as things currently stand, is on the podium despite that time penalty. Absolutely sensational stuff. We've got 2 laps of racing to go. Who was your driver of the day? Is it Kaposa with this sensational fight back despite the penalty? Is it Azuri for somehow managing a potential smash and grab victory? Is it Shakes for the strategy which a lot of you question, but now finds himself on the verge of something absolutely sensational over here? I want to hear who your driver of the day is, folks. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Over here in the third tier of a BrakeAway Racing League. On board we go with the Alpha Tauri of Kaposa, who is trying to make sure that he does not use up too much of his battery power. Taking all the liberties with track limits there. And look at that, folks. We have a mini DRS train between the top 3. Shakes has bridged a 24-second gap when he came out of the pit, and now finds himself within a second of the race leader. Azuri racks up a 3-second time penalty for track limit incursions. He could not handle the pressure, and he took too many liberties with track limits. Here comes Shakes on the attack, but Azuri being Azuri is going to fight tooth and nail. But who will hold their nerve towards the end here? It is a sensational finish towards the end over here. Oh, I can't believe it. If Shakes also was taking liberties here, if Shakes racked up a 3-second time penalty, we are on the verge of something we have never seen, where all 3 potential race winners are going to be absolutely playing mind games here in a race for the potential race win. It's turns number 1 and 2 for Azuri, Kaposa, and Shakes. Azuri, who's had some sticky moments in this sequence of corners, as Kaposa opts to be later on the brakes to turn number 3. He's hanging on for dear life. Azuri must be shaking, says upon Candy Debo Croc in the comment section. Kaposa is not shaking. Kaposa is holding his nerve and holding on to that steering wheel to make sure that as he exits that hairpin, he is absolutely putting the top 2 drivers under all of the pressure. An absolutely breathless finish here. If you've just joined us, folks, you have missed an absolute classic. Shakes thought about going on the inside, but did not want to risk it against the risky prospect that is Azuri. Shakes just needs to hang on here. Azuri had a little bit of a moment there potentially on the exit, as Brown Boy has fallen to about 4.3 seconds behind this leading trio. What a sensationally entertaining race we've had here, folks. It's the penultimate lap. It is Kaposa in the hunt for that for those top spots. He's going to need a miracle, will Kaposa. He's going to need an absolute miracle in the form of Shakes having a 3-second time penalty. Both of them are going to go on the attack, but who will get it? It's Kaposa on the inside of Shakes into turn number 14. Will they give each other enough room? The answer is yes. Kaposa almost making contact with that back of the car. Both Kaposa and Shakes having a little bit of moment with traction, but Shakes reclaims that P2 spot going through turn number 15 and 16, and it is back to square one for Kaposa. now down to about 8% of his battery power. So pretty much all of these guys are now flashing. Those batteries are screaming, crying, complaining as we're about to have a sensational finish. Oh, Kaposa on the inside. They both spin. They both spin. Kaposa hits Shakes and they both spin. And it's advantage Azuri. It's advantage Azuri towards the end. And here comes Brown Boy to overtake Kaposa. It's the final lap of the race, and Kaposa perhaps too impatient, and now will lose this podium as things currently stand, because that 3-second time penalty will come into effect at the end of this race, and it's going potentially to be a smash and grab race win for this man. A potential smash and grab race win, Kaposa. What happened to Shakes? Oh no, he's also slipped down. Mistakes. Mistakes at the end of the race here, folks. Shakes making crucial errors. Perhaps still seething from that moment that Kaposa had a little bit earlier. And now it's Brown Boy fighting for P2. We don't even know where to look, folks. It is an absolutely breathless finish. And now in lap number 28 of 28, here comes the hat of Azuri, who had to deal with 2 moments of contact, 2 moments which sent one driver into a DNF. Azuri will cross the line to win the Chinese Grand Prix. Here comes Kaposa, who will cross the line second, but suffer a 3-second time penalty. But he hangs on to the podium place. No, he does not. Shakes, thankfully for him, racks up a P3 spot. It is going to be a podium finish for Shakes, who was fighting for the race win, but sadly was knocked down by Kaposa. I want to know who is your driver of the day, folks. Kaposa will come home in P4 after that valiant effort ended in a mistake down towards the tail end of this race. The Prince of South Africa brought that car home, lost connection now a few seconds ago. It's P5 for him. As Buddha will bring it home in P6, had already been left, but it looks like Esbuda and Mfundo are fighting now to finish off this race. Mfundo going for that P6 spot, and Mfundo goes for it into P6 in the run towards turn number 14. Mfundo is going to fight it. He hangs on to the inside line. Oh, Esbuda was trying to fight back, but has a huge spin on the exit of number 14. The veterans, as Crash says, will come home in P6 and 7 respectively, a long way away from the race leaders. And that is that, folks. It is Azuri who comes home in P1, Brown Boy P2, Shakes in P3. Kaposa P4, the Prince of South Africa P5, Mfundo P6, S. Buddha P7, Just Tendo P8, and Alpha Raymain P9. The average FIFA player and Perk Mille sadly crashing out of this race, which starts off the brand new Breakaway Racing League season on one of the most breathless, one of the most entertaining notes. Well, folks, I do hope that you enjoyed that one. Catching up with some of your comments. The veteran says, Crash, we need the full grid tomorrow for such action, says Billy Hendricks. Veterans Challenge, said Zotal in the comment section. Azuri driver of the day, reckons Zotal. Some laughing emojis earlier on for Zotal there. Definitely Duke says, Azuri is the driver, M01, who we used to call Maleven, is now Azuri. He was fond of Haas cars back then. Looks like that is still the case. Well, folks, that was sensationally entertaining. Thank you so much for joining us for the top tier of Breakaway Racing League. We will be back right here on this channel for Tier 2, as Estelo has voted for Kaposa and Shakes as their driver of the day. Azuri says definitely Duke. We will see you tomorrow for Tier 2, the likes of Duke, the likes of Estelo Racing here, Billy Hendricks, Sir Lancelot. Well, we will see what the stewards say, and we will catch up with more Tier 3 action next week, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central African Time. Thank you very much, folks. That is your race. Thank you, and good night.